Have you ever thought about how powerful a book can be? I'm not just talking about a gripping story that keeps you up all night. I mean a book so powerful, so revolutionary, that governments and empires trembled at the mere thought of its ideas spreading. Today we read diving into the thrilling and often dangerous world of banned books. Not just any banned books, the ones that literally sparked wars and revolutions. These are the tomes that dictators feared, the pages that fueled rebellions, and the words that reshaped the world as we know it. So, grab a cup of your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let's explore the explosive history of forbidden literature. Let's start our journey in 16th century Europe, a time of immense religious and political turmoil. Martin Luther, a German monk and theologian, was about to drop a literary bombshell that would shatter the unity of Western Christianity. In 1517, he famously nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg. While not a book in the traditional sense, this document was the spark. It questioned the Catholic Church's practice of selling indulgences, essentially paying to have your sins forgiven. Thanks to the brand new printing press, Luther's ideas went viral. 16th century style. Copies were printed and distributed across Germany and Europe in a matter of weeks. The Pope was not amused. He demanded Luther retract his statements. Luther refused. Instead, he doubled down, writing more pamphlets and books that challenged the very foundations of papal authority. His works, like On the Freedom of a Christian, were swiftly banned and burned. But it was too late. The ideas were out. These banned texts directly fueled the Protestant Reformation. Peasants, princes, and scholars alike were inspired by Luther's call for reform. This wasn't just a theological debate. It led to decades of brutal conflict, including the German Peasants' War and the devastating 30 Years' War, which redrew the map of Europe. All from a series of documents that the authorities tried desperately to suppress. It shows that when an idea's time has come, not even fire can stop it. Now, let's jump forward about 250 years to the eve of the American Revolution. The colonists in America were getting pretty fed up with British rule. They felt overtaxed and underrepresented. They needed a voice, a clear and powerful argument for why they should break away and form their own nation. That voice came from a man named Thomas Paine, and his weapon of choice was a simple pamphlet titled Common Sense. Published anonymously in January 1776, Common Sense was an instant sensation. Paine didn't use complicated legal or philosophical language. He spoke directly to the common person, using plain, forceful arguments. He called King George III a royal brute and argued that it was absurd for a tiny island to rule over a vast continent. He made a passionate case not just for protesting taxes, but for complete and total independence. The British authorities were, of course, horrified. They considered the pamphlet seditious treason. Owning a copy could get you in serious trouble. But like Luther's theses, it was impossible to contain. Common Sense sold an estimated 500,000 copies in a population of just 2.5 million. It was read aloud in taverns, in public squares, and in the Continental Army camps. George Washington himself read it to his troops to boost their morale. It galvanized public opinion, turning a protest into a full-blown revolution. The Declaration of Independence was signed just 6 months later. It's no exaggeration to say this little banned book gave America the courage to be born. Next stop, France, late 18th century. The French monarchy was living in decadent luxury while the common people were starving. The air was thick with discontent. Philosophers of the Enlightenment were writing about liberty, equality, and the rights of man, but their ideas were often confined to intellectual circles. The revolution needed something that could unite the masses, something that could articulate their rage and their hopes. Enter What is the Third Estate by Abbé Emmanuel Joseph Size. The Third Estate was the common people of France who made up over 97% of the population but had virtually no political power. The clergy and the nobility, the First and Second Estates held all the cards. In his explosive pamphlet, Size asked 3 simple questions. What is the Third Estate? Everything. What has it been until now in the political order? Nothing. What does it demand? To become something. This was revolutionary dynamite. The pamphlet spread like wildfire through Paris and beyond. It perfectly captured the frustrations of an entire nation and gave the Third Estate a sense of identity and purpose. When the Estates General convened in 1789, the representatives of the Third Estate, inspired by Sieyes' words, broke away and declared themselves the National Assembly. This act of defiance marked the beginning of the French Revolution. Sieyes' work, which was immediately suppressed by the royalist government, provided the ideological justification for overthrowing an entire social order that had stood for centuries. Now, for a book that caused a different kind of war, a civil war. Let's travel to America in the 1850s. The country was deeply divided over the issue of slavery. While abolitionist movements existed, many in the North were either indifferent or complicit. What the abolitionist cause needed was something to shock the conscience of the nation, to reveal the true human cost of slavery. That something was Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Published in 1852, the book told the story of enslaved African Americans, portraying them as complex, feeling human beings suffering under a brutal and inhumane system. The book's vivid depictions of cruelty, family separation, and the struggle for freedom were incredibly powerful. It was a runaway bestseller in the North, second only to the Bible. In the South, however, the book was met with absolute fury. It was banned, burned, and denounced as slanderous propaganda. Southern authors wrote dozens of anti-Tome novels to counter its narrative, but the damage was done. Uncle Tom's Cabin galvanized anti-slavery sentiment in the North like nothing before it. It brought the horrors of slavery into the living rooms of ordinary people, making it a moral issue that could no longer be ignored. When Abraham Lincoln met Harriet Beecher Stowe a decade later, during the Civil War, he reportedly said, "So you're the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war." While that might be an apocryphal story, it captures a powerful truth. Uncle Tom's Cabin didn't single-handedly cause the Civil War, but it was a massive cultural force that fueled the moral outrage and political will necessary for the conflict to erupt. Our final stop is in 20th century Russia, with a book that didn't just spark a revolution but defined it. If you've ever heard the terms proletariat and bourgeoisie, you have Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels to thank. Their 1848 work, the Communist Manifesto, was one of the most influential and controversial political documents ever written. In it, Marx and Engels argued that the history of society is a history of class struggle. They predicted that the working class, or proletariat, would inevitably rise up, overthrow the capitalist factory owners, the bourgeoisie, and establish a classless communist society. They ended with the famous rallying cry, "Workers of all lands unite." For decades, the Manifesto was an underground text, banned in many European countries for its radical anti-capitalist message. But its ideas simmered, gaining traction among disillusioned workers and intellectuals. The real explosion came in Russia. Vladimir Lenin, a devoted follower of Marx, adapted these ideas for the Russian context. He led the Bolsheviks in the 1917 October Revolution, toppling the Tsarist regime and establishing the world's first communist state, the Soviet Union. The Communist Manifesto became the foundational text for this new empire and for communist movements around the globe. Its ideas shaped the course of the 20th century, leading to the Cold War and influencing the politics of countries from China to Cuba. A short banned pamphlet, written by two German philosophers in the mid-19th century, ended up defining a global ideological struggle that lasted for generations. So, from Martin Luther to Karl Marx, these banned books did more than just challenge authority, they shattered it. They proved that you can burn books, you can outlaw them, you can lock them away, but you can't kill an idea. The most powerful revolutions don't always begin with armies and weapons. Sometimes they begin with a quiet reader, turning a page and having their entire world changed. What do you think? Are there any other revolutionary banned books we should have included? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey through history, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. We'll see you next time.